While we welcome taxation as an industry, as a company, we should all welcome taxation because that helps the economy function, which helps the government function. But at the same time, the type of taxation which has been brought in the last two or 3 months, starting from the onset of the finance bill, has, as we all know, I mean, I don't want to repeat, but as we all know, it has deterred a lot of regular day traders, which we feared would happen, which we had made those arguments in front of the larger government, and that has actually happened. But then we decided to take a step back, and we actually wanted to understand from our own traders who are our end users as to what has happened wrong. Why aren't you guys trading anymore the way you used to trade earlier? So then we asked our dear friends at Zebpay, let's do a collaboration and then do a trader sentiment survey. Around about 9,500 folks participated in it, and this only involved traders, active traders, who had actively traded, I think, till the 15th of April 2022. And the findings were pretty alarming. 83% of the traders believed that the recent tax implementation completely deterred their trading frequency. It was a deterrent. It was something that they were not looking forward to. And 24% of these respondents are actually contemplating shifting their entire trading activities to international exchanges, which is what we had always feared would happen. And this is a concern that we had relayed to the larger government, not once, not twice, but many times over. They wanted to, now they are saying, now this is a set of people who are saying, they're contemplating eventually, right, to shift it to other international exchanges and foreign locations. Now, and the rest 29% of these respondents traded lesser than the pre-tax period, right? 27% of these respondents sold around if my memory serves me right, 50% of their portfolio before the 1st of April, whereas 57% sold under 10%. Now, here's the fun part. Now, if you do the maths now, the revenue from the tax collections for the government ideally would decline, as 27% of these customers said that they would trade less than earlier owing to the current taxation policy. That's also revenue loss for the government in a way. Once these folks, citizens of this country who were trading on exchanges like us, who were KYC'd exchanges because we follow all the norms in the place, you had a list of people who were trading. And if people did evade taxes, all of us had the data, right? But now, because of such onerous taxation, these traders are going to go outside, and which is our all surveys also saying that they're going to go outside to non-KYC exchanges, which are located internationally. How do you track them down? That leads to a lot of unlawful activities. B, it's also a net loss in revenue for the government of India. So I don't think this has helped anybody, neither the industry, because as a business, we are losing out of massive revenues. Our revenues have gone down 70%. So I don't think this layer of taxation has helped anybody, whether in terms of the data collection, tax collection. It has not helped in any sense whatsoever. So yeah. No, I mean, see, they feel the same because, see, this is not going, these laws are not going to go away and change anytime soon, right? Now, there are holders, like people like us have always been holders. We've always kept, I hardly sell my portfolio. We've always kept it but there are only so many of us, right? There are so many of us who believe in the core tech of the ecosystem and why this ecosystem matters. There are flaws in the ecosystem. I'm not saying this industry does not have flaws. There are massive flaws in this ecosystem, but you don't ban the industry. You work with the industry to change it. You change things so that it benefits everybody. So holders, yes, there are holders who will continue doing so, but there's only a small percentage of them. But I mean, they're also looking at it in terms of, even if I hold, if this is the end game, why am I going to do this in India anymore, right? I rather move my stuff outside. So it's again a loss over there. And the other thing is, but what might end up happening, I'm not too sure because I've not seen that happening that many in number. What I mean is there might be different type of fintech companies which might come up, like say small cases for cryptos which might come up, or there are companies which might come up with different financial instruments where you just do SIP for a year and you don't take out your coins and you stake your cryptos for a year. This is the percentage you'll get. So sort of the adversity right now because of the laws, I believe, will also give rise to a different type of financial instruments in crypto. Again, that's also in the sort of a gray area because it's still not legal, right? So that is what might happen. But in terms of the holders, they feel the same. Most of the old folks that we have talked to, people who were there in crypto in India from 2017, 2018 onwards, when they faced the downturn in 17, 18, they did hold on to their portfolio, but most of them also moved their tokens outside, right? They also moved to foreign platforms. So that might happen because see, end user, they want to do this under the best laws of the world, right? But in ambiguity fields, sandboxes like this, even they will move out. So I don't know who's going to benefit out of this. Nobody benefits. Even the tax goes out. So yeah. It's kind of sad what's happened. You see what has happened in the last 1 year. Companies have moved out. People have moved out. I've talked to most of them. I personally have talked to more than 120 companies in the last 1 year who have moved out of India. We keep talking about building things from India for the world, but this, you might not like the current version of blockchains. It's not perfect. I'm not saying all the chains out there are the perfect. The industry is not perfect, but that's how tech evolves, right? Every industry evolves. I mean, the version of operating system that you're using on your laptops or your smartphones, they are the much evolved version. I mean, imagine looking at a smartphone 15 years ago. People would have laughed it off. People used to laugh at tablets, for God's sake, once upon a time. But that industry came up. It built, a lot of other companies got into it. So what has happened is going to happen more in number now. What did happen before the tax structures were implemented in India, companies moved out primarily because, not because of tax. This is where it gets really funny and weird. They moved out because they had no clarity. For a business, you need to give them clarity. You need to give them a situation where they understand everything. You need to give them an environment that they can do business. There is a reason everybody keeps repeating the word ease of doing business. I don't think there is ease of doing business for crypto industry in India. Fine, a lot of people don't like it. Great, but look at the tech. You can build a powerhouse of industries in India. So that is one which has already had, which did happen last year. The numbers are only going to increase this year, but it's not because of the tax. It's because of no existence of regulations. Most of these companies are token-led companies, meaning they build a product on chain, whatever the product is, they build a particular product on the blockchain, different blockchains or multi-chain, and they raise money. They raise capital. As startups raise capital, they raise capital through by giving them token agreements to the venture capitalists, right, or people who invest in it. A certain percent of token goes to them. Now, those tokens eventually have to be listed somewhere, right? Those tokens can't be traded. Like, you give me a hard drive, I'll give you a hard drive. That has to be traded somewhere. And there are no there are no listing procedures in this country, right? So that's why most of them are moving to jurisdictions where countries are allowing it. Look at France. France has allowed this to happen. Look at Switzerland. Switzerland has allowed this to happen. There are other countries. Dubai has allowed this to happen. Singapore, although they have great laws, stringent laws, but even they allow some amount of this to happen, but with certain yardsticks in place. So that is one. Second, if this goes on and on more, what will happen is you will end up, nothing new will happen in India. India will still remain a developer-centric country where developers will be there in India, say PMs will be there in India, but those countries not going to be instituted out of India. They'll all be outside. So that revenue is going to go somewhere else. So we'll again, which I don't want it to happen, you'll again have a bunch of us building companies outside of the country, right? And which has already happened. We have seen that. So net, it is a loss of entrepreneurs going out of the country. But listen, crypto is just one part of the larger argument. There are a lot of other industries. Just because crypto and Web3 is moving out doesn't mean the country cannot run. Of course, it will run. There are some beautiful industries in this country. But this is an opportunity. I still believe this is an opportunity for a country like ours, considering the geopolitical situation, for us to take a lead. And lead in just in terms of policy. You just bring a policy. However harsh or hard it is, you bring in policies. You debate it, you bring in policies, then a group of people get encouragement ki, boss, I will create my company in India. I will employ more people. 20 more companies will come up. Each company will employ 50 or 60 people. That's how it grows, whether it's a gig economy or anything else. So that is what has happened, and I fear will happen again. And mind you, this is not because of taxation, because traders are only one part of it. There are other parts of other types of companies as well, right? So yeah. So if users move to non-KYC compliant exchanges, and if that exchange goes down, then what happens to those users' funds in token? I mean, in crypto or in fiat. I mean, people will also invest in fiat in those exchanges, right? So if that exchange is in a different country, God forbid it goes down. When I say goes down is equal to if the exchange completely goes or stops working because of whatever they file bankruptcy or whatever the reason. You saw some of these we've seen some of these companies file bankruptcy, right, in the last few months. Then if you're a user in India, you've lost your money. Where do you go then? Will you go to that country? Not everybody can fly down to another country and fight a legal case, right? They're all in different jurisdictions, and some of them are not in the economies that we know of. They're all in small tax haven countries. So how do you do that? So it is a loss, and this is not new. This has happened earlier also. We've heard so many cases even 6-7 years back when this industry was still very new and there were only so many exchanges. We used to read reports on because we used to get these stories from a lot of law enforcement folks from across the world in terms of how people from Southeast Asia are trying to figure out what happened to this particular exchange in this particular country. There is nobody to talk to. There is nobody to pick up my call. Nobody's responding to my mails. It's scary when your own money is invested somewhere, right? So that is a big fear. Second, I mean, they are in a different jurisdiction, so they have no liability to help you out if things go south. They won't. They will not. Ask anybody who's lost money in Terra Luna. Has Terra Luna reverted those money back to Indians? They haven't. So that's why you need a local industry. That's why you need a local homegrown Web3 industry, which helps legally, policy-wise speaking, and also for the user safety, the financial user safety of these folks. So yeah. I mean, more than taxation has been set. I mean, that is not for me to answer, but for the larger, I think the larger industry needs to still come together, discuss, debate, collaborate on what needs to change, and then make a collaborative approach to the government. That's one. Because there are a lot of different areas of tax which still we haven't discussed. Why I say that is, there's still no discussions around GST. There's still an argument out there whether we are goods or services, right? What are we? Are we goods? If we are goods, how are we goods? Are we services? How are we services, right? Because, for example, I'll give an example to when say a Bitcoin is transferred from wallet A to wallet B, the Bitcoin is not getting transferred or the Ethereum is not getting transferred. It's not like a folder of certain coins getting transferred. That does not happen. It's the ledger. It's a sort of a ledger entry. Nothing gets transferred technically. I mean, speaking, if I can put it that way. So then what is it? Is it a goods or is it a service, right? What tax do you put on it, right? Stuff like that. That's one. Second, I think, which is more important, I would believe, is we genuinely need to, if it is in the list of more important things for the government, I think we genuinely need to push for regulations, whatever it may be. Right now, this industry needs clarity. Every day, there are 10 to 20 startups who come up, and the first question they ask is not the product or not the tech question. The first question any Web3 company asks is, boss, should I set up my company in India or outside? Not that startups beforehand haven't set up their one side of the company outside. They have. It has been happening in the country for the longest time. But regulation, a law needs to come in place. A proper policy document needs to come in place, either from our side or from the government. This is what you are. This is how we are defining what tokens are. This is how we are defining what NFTs are. This is how we are defining what DEXs are. This is how we are defining what tokenomics is, this is how on-chain things happen. This is how you can do mining. This is how you can list a token or a coin in an exchange in India. What are those? What are those definitions? Those definitions are not clear. It's still being debated a lot, but I think that is the need of the hour, because that gives clarity, and clarity here has a business metric to it, because the more clarity you give, the more number of companies come up, the more amount of investments come from outside to India. India has a massively active trader base in India, but along with that, India also has a great set of engineers. Now, when I look at the number of colleges here, we are around 35,000 engineering colleges, 1 million folks, or I don't remember the number. So many folks come out, graduate every year, right? So many of them want to build companies on chain. The last lot of investments also happen through tokens. Companies also invest now through tokens, like VCs also invest through tokens. We need clarity on that aspect as well. What does it fall under? Is it, if I'm investing like through a token, if I'm investing 30K through a token in a company, do I fall under some kind of tax? Is it a capital gain tax or stuff like that? Like those, because that's also money coming into India. I mean, if we can define it as money or currency, right? So honestly, these are some of the things which is very, very critical, but the most important thing is some sort of law which comes, some sort of policy, a document which comes from them, and then there can be multiple debates, arguments, and you can keep changing things, but that clarity is required. Without that clarity, I don't see a lot of companies starting from India and being in India. They'll eventually move outside. So yeah.